Hello everyone, welcome back to the 2018 Granny Square Crochet Along. Today we are making the lovely Stonecrop square and I love it. I've done it in this slightly variegated yarn today because this yarn doesn't detract too much from the pattern to show you, and I just love it. It's a slightly different technique to usual in how we make this up, but it's so simple. Once you get going, it's just so simple. So we're going to just work through it together and see what we get at the end. And I have just finished making this one with you on the video, and I've come to say hi at the end actually. So I need you to grab your things, just your hook, your yarn and some scissors, and if you want to do this in more than one colour, obviously feel free. I'm just going to do it in one colour today, but you could change the colours up on this however you like. It's would be lovely in different colours. But anyway, without further ado, let's get started. So I'm just getting my yarn ready here. I've got an end here somewhere. So our square today is kind of like an outside-in square, in that we do the outside edge, or two sides. We do sort of down and across, and then we work back and up and back, and we end up getting to a point in the top corner, rather than going backwards and forwards or around. So that's how we're going to do today's square. So because we are starting with two sides of our 6-inch square, we need to chain that size. So we're going to chain 54. So chain 54. Count it very carefully, make sure you've got the right amount of chains, and then I'm going to do that now, and then I will see you back when we've both got 54 chains. Okay, so when you have 54 chains, which will give you, it will be a bit bigger than 6 inches when you fold it, or put it like so. It will be a bit more than 6 inches because we're not going to use the whole chain. We're going to skip the first 4. But this is kind of what we're going to do, and we're going to work back along and up, and then we'll just continue working like so until we get to this little corner here. Okay, so if you happen to have too many chains, don't panic, we can undo. I'm not quite sure how we add to the end, but we can always undo at the end of the row if we have too many. That's not a huge problem. Okay, so we're going to treble crochet in the 5th chain from our hook. So remember, we always skip this one that's actually on our hook, and then we want to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th one. So treble crochet is 2 yarn overs, remember? And then we're going to go into this 5th chain from the hook and do that treble crochet if it doesn't pop off the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's try that again. Okay, so treble crochet there. And so this first chain here, this chain of 4 will count as your first treble. Okay, and then we're going to do a treble crochet in the next 17 chains. So you're going, the next 17. Sorry, getting my tongue twisted and getting my words all in a kerfuffle. So you're going to do 17 more treble crochets along, so you will end up with 19 altogether, including that starting chain. So I've got 4 now. Okay, so continue along until you have 19 altogether. so this is what we now have. 19 treble crochets, including our starting chain 4, and then you have the rest of this chain. Okay, so now we're going to do our clusters that come in the corner. So first of all, we are going to chain 3, and then we're going to do a 2 treble crochet cluster. So we're going to do it in the top of this very last treble crochet that we made. So this very last one here, you're going to go into the top, if it will focus, you're going to go into the top of this stitch and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2, and leave that last loop on the hook. So this loop here belongs to the hook, as I always describe it. And then we've got one last loop from the stitch. Leave that on there, yarn over twice for a treble crochet, go back into that first stitch or last stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we had these 2 loops on our hook already, and then we're going to leave this last loop on the hook from this stitch we just did. So we've now got 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. And now we are going to skip 3 chains down the bottom here. So look carefully because your next chain might have got a little small. Just double check where your stitch is coming from. So this stitch is coming from this chain right here, if my camera wants to focus. Okay, so we're coming right from this stitch here. So 1 chain, 2 chains, 3 chains, and you want the 4th chain to work into. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and into that 4th chain, we are going to do a 3 treble crochet cluster. So just as we did on the last one, but instead of 2 stitches in the chain, we're going to do 3 partial stitches. So go into that chain with your 2 yarn overs, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, leave the last loop on the hook, do that again into that same chain. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, leave that last loop on the hook. Getting a bit tangled with my yarn here for some reason. Okay, and then we're going to do that once more, yarn over twice, go into the same chain, oops, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then you have 3 loops left on your hook. That's wrong, you should have 4. I think I must have done it once too many. Let's do that again. So you've probably got yours right already, haven't you? Okay, so let's do that once more. Through 2 and through 2. So now you should have 4 loops on your hook, 1 for each stitch and 1 for the hook. Yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. So these 2 clusters now are pretty much joined together. Okay, so then we're going to skip 5 chains and do a 3 treble crochet cluster. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you want to do it into the 6th chain. Okay, so we're going to do that cluster exactly the same into the 6th chain along. So pull through 2, pull through 2, yarn over twice, go into that same chain. Make sure you're going into the same chain and not accidentally going into the next chain along, because then your count will be wrong at the end. Okay, so 4 loops, yarn over and pull through all 4. There's your third cluster. And then we're going to chain 4. And then we're going to do a 2 treble crochet cluster in the first chain. Okay, so you just chained 4 and you want to do your cluster into this very first chain here, the one that's right next to your last cluster. So yarn over twice, go into that chain, oops, and then do your 2 stitch cluster. So remember, leave a loop on the hook, yarn over twice again, go back into that same chain, pull through two, pull through two, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. So you should have 4 clusters now. Lay this down here. You can see you've got these 4 clusters and then your treble crochets. Okay, so we're going to start coming around the corner now. So we are going to skip 3 chains and then we're going to do a treble crochet in the next 19. So double check where this cluster is coming out from, and then your next chain may be a little big or small next to it depending on how you've worked. So skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, and then you want to work into your 4th chain along and do a treble crochet. And then you should have 18 chains left to do 18 more treble crochets. And I'm going to do those 18 more and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so here we go at the end of row 1. And row 2 we will be putting a cluster in here, and it will just help our square to stay at this 90-degree angle. Okay, now I did say I could show you how, if you had too many chains, you could reduce that. And also I've realised I can show you how you can add if you haven't got enough. So if you were doing this last 19 treble crochets and you have leftover chains, then all you need to do is your slip knot, you need to just undo that. You might need to get a needle and just pop in that knot. Undo that slip knot, pull out that last chain and then redo your knot. It doesn't have to be a slip knot this time. You can just do a regular, any old kind of knot there. So you can just undo your chains there. But what if you have done, you've only got 17 stitches or 18? Well, the way you can do that is by doing a chainless foundation stitch. So what you would do for a treble crochet, if you haven't got the right amount, is you want to yarn over twice as for a treble crochet, and then you want to go into the chain at the bottom of your last stitch. So if my camera would choose to focus, that would be very kind. If it would choose to focus, there we go. So you want to go into this chain at the bottom of your last stitch. So just wiggle your hook into there. It could be a bit tricky, but you just want to go into that chain. Okay, so there we go. I've got that loop on there from the chain. And now what you want to do, grab my yarn, is you want to yarn over and pull through that 1 loop. And then that's going to provide your chain at the bottom of this stitch we're making. And then yarn over and pull through just as you would for your regular treble crochet. And there is your stitch added next to your existing stitches. So if I can bring that in. Okay, so this is your new stitch that you just added. So then if you needed to add another one, yarn over twice, go into that chain at the bottom of that last stitch that you've just made, yarn over, pull through that chain, and then yarn over and do your stitch as usual. So here I have just added 2 more stitches onto the end of my row. And they kind of come out a little bit at a different angle, but by the time you've done the whole square, no one would know you just added those 2 stitches on there. So that's how you can add stitches to the end of your row if you need to. Now that was obviously, I was showing you the treble crochet there. It would work exactly the same if it was a double crochet or a single crochet. If it was a double crochet, then obviously you would just yarn over once, go into that chain at the bottom, do your yarn over, pull through the chain, and then you would do your stitch as normal. If it was a single crochet, you would just go straight into that chain with no yarn over. Go into that chain, yarn over, and then you would pull through the chain, and then you would do your stitches as usual. And I hope that makes sense. But if you need a reminder of how to do that extra stitch, then just rewind the video a few minutes for that recap. Okay, so I'm going to double check that I've still got 19 there now that I've been playing around, and then we'll move on to row 2. Okay, so I do have 19 stitches still, even after all that playing around. So we're going to start row 2, we're going to turn our work over and work on the back, and we're going to chain 4 for our first treble crochet. And then let me double check how many stitches we are doing. We are going to treble crochet in the next 18 stitches. So we're going to have the same amount of stitches as the previous row. So skip this first treble crochet because the chain's coming from that. So go into the next one, and this one and the rest you're going to do 18. So that was our number 1 and then number 2. So you should be working all the way to the end of that first 19 triple crochets, and you will have 19 again, including this first chain. And there we go, 19 treble crochets all nicely lined up on top of each other. Perfect. So now we're going to do a 3 treble crochet cluster. To make this, we've got 4 clusters here already. We're going to turn this into 5 clusters. So we're going to work into the top of the second cluster. So we've got 1 and then we've got 2. So if you look at the top of that, you should be able to see this top part here. There's a gap there. Don't get confused with the next one along. So we're going to work into the top of that, and we're going to do a 3 treble crochet cluster. So yarn over twice and go into that gap and do your 2 yarn overs, yarn over, pull through, leave the last loop on, and then do that again and a 3rd time. You should have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4, and there is your cluster. So you now have 5 there, forming a nice sort of petal and flower, sorry, they are all sort of petals. Okay, and then we're going to simply do 19 treble crochets all the way along, and the 19th one will be in the top chain of this chain 4. Simples. See you at the end of the row. Show you this first 2 treble crochets. You might think you were being asked to do your stitch a long way from your cluster, but actually that's what is bringing our square now into more of the 90-degree angle. Okay, so if it seems a long way, then don't panic, just go with it. Okay, and here we go at the end of row 2. So row 3 is going to be very, very similar to our first row, but with less stitches because we need to start bringing this in a little. So if I can stop getting in a tangle with my yarn, it would be super. So turn your work over, and then we're going to start with a chain 4 as your first treble crochet, and then we're going to do treble crochet in the next 12 stitches, making 13 altogether. So I will see you when I have done these 12 treble crochets. Okay, so I've got 13 treble crochets including my starting chain, and now we're going to do a chain 3, and we are going to do that first cluster like we did on the first round, where we have a chain 3 and then 2 partial treble crochets, and we're going to do it into the top of this last stitch that we just made. Okay, so yarn over twice, go into that stitch, do your yarn over and yarn over, leaving that last loop on the hook just as we have done before, and then do that once more, and then you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through, and then we are going to skip 3 treble crochets, so 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th treble crochet we're going to do a cluster, so that will be 3 treble crochets or partial treble crochets into this 4th stitch. Okay, so leave that last loop on, do that again, and a 3rd time, and you'll have 4 loops on your hook, and yarn over, pull through all 4, and then you're going to skip 5 stitches, and we're going to do the cluster in the next treble crochet. So okay, so this is where it can sometimes help with a pattern to refer to the chart as well, to see that exact stitch placement if you're not 100% sure when you're reading the pattern. If there is a chart to go by, it can help you with stitch placement. So I was just double checking whether that 5 was just the treble crochets or whether it was including the cluster as well. So it does include the cluster as well. So skipping 5 stitches is these 2 treble crochets plus the cluster plus 2 more stitches. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to go into the next stitch. So if you're looking at just the stitches on this second side, it will be the 3rd stitch along. And we're going to do a cluster into there as well. So 3 treble crochet cluster. So we do 1, and then we do the 2nd partial and the 3rd, and we've got our 4 loops, yarn over and pull through all 4, and then we're going to chain 4, and do a 2 treble crochet cluster in the first chain like we did in the first round. So yarn over twice and go into that very first chain, which can be a little tricky. There we go, and do your partial treble crochet and do that once more into that same chain. Very clever way of making these clusters, very clever. So we've just got 3 loops this time because we had that starting chain. Yarn over and pull through all those loops, she says. Let's pop that back on there, pop that one on, pull through those 3 loops, there we go. Okay, and then we're going to skip 3 treble crochets, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th one we're going to do a treble crochet, and then we're going to work 12 more along this side to finish. So your last one will be in the top of this chain 4, so do 12 treble crochets along there, and I will see you at the end of that side. And there we go. So you can see how just changing up how many stitches we have on the side and where we've got those clusters, how you can see it's then making it shorter, and you can probably now see how it's going to end up coming up into this top corner. So I love this already, love it, very clever. Okay, so moving on to round 4. We're going to do exactly the same as before. Turn our work and chain 4. So turn your work over this way, chain 4, and then do 12 treble crochets along, and I will see you once I've done those 12 treble crochets. Okay, so we've got 13 along that side altogether, including our turning chain. And now we're going to do our last cluster of this set here. So we're going to skip the first cluster, and then in the second one we're going to do a cluster. So just as we did on the first one, we're going to do it in the top of this second cluster. Okay, so do those 3 partial treble crochets, ending with 4 loops on your hook, and pull 3. There we go. And then simply 13 treble crochets along this side to finish this side. So start in your first one next to your cluster, and you're going to do 13 along there, the last one in your chain 4. So I will see you after I've done 13. And there we go. How lovely is this working up? If you are just watching this tutorial at the moment and not actually making the square, grab some yarn, grab your hook, and make this square, because I love it, love it. It's such a different way of working, and yeah, I love it. Because sometimes, you know, I practice these squares before I do the video for you. Sometimes I just go for it and just work it out along with you. And that's what I've done today. So it's a beautiful surprise as to how it's working up. So yeah, and I'm sure I've started this yarn from the wrong end because it keeps getting caught on itself. Anyway, let me stop waffling and pause the video while I sort my yarn out, and then we'll get going on row 5. Well, I basically had to pull all of the middle out of my yarn and roll it up around the outside. That's just how bad it was. Aren't we glad this wasn't a live video and you had to wait while I sorted that out? Okay, let's get going on row 5. So turn your work over, and I bet you can't guess what we're going to do. We're going to chain 4 as our treble crochet, and then we're going to do a treble crochet in the next 6 stitches. So there will be 7 altogether, including that first chain. Honestly, what is wrong with this yarn? My goodness. It's having a crazy day. 4, right, 5, 6, and 7 altogether. So your starting chain and 6 treble crochets. Okay, and then we're going to chain 3, and we're going to do that first cluster as we usually do in the top of the last treble crochet. So yarn over twice, go into the top of this last treble crochet, leave the last loop on and do that again, and then pull through all 3 loops. Then we're going to skip 3 treble crochets, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th treble crochet we're going to do that 3 stitch cluster. So you must be getting pro at these by now. So I'm not going to explain it too much. Just that you should have 4 loops left on your hook, and yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. Okay, and then we are going to skip 5 stitches. Now remember that we count our cluster as 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2 stitches on this side, cluster, and 2 stitches on this side, and then we're going to go into the next one. and we're going to do a 3-stitch cluster in there. So just as before, you will end with 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops, and then you're going to chain 4, and you're going to do a 2-stitch cluster in the first chain of that 4. So into that chain, oops, come on hook, get into that chain, there we go. Right, so 2 stitches, so this time we're going to have 3 loops on our hook, not 4. There we go, yarn over and pull through all 3. And now we're going to skip 3 treble crochets, so 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do 7 treble crochets along here. The last one will be in your chain 4. So do these 7 treble crochets and I'll see you at the end of the row. Okay, so I finished my row off as I said, and then I've just turned my work around and I've done my starting chain 4 and then 6 treble crochets. So pause the video and then do your starting chain 4 and 6 treble crochets. Okay, and then we are going to finish, do our last cluster of this set. So as always, we're going to skip the first cluster, and then in the top of the second one, we're going to do that 3-stitch cluster. So this is 3 stitches where you'll end up with 4 loops on your hook at the end of the cluster. Okay. There we go, pull through all 4, and then you are going to do a treble crochet into the next treble crochet and along all 7. Your 7th one will be in the top of your chain 4 as usual. So 7 treble crochets and I'll see you at the end of that row. And there we go. I love how this is looking. Okay, so we've just got our last corner to make now. So we're not going to do what we usually would do. We are going to chain 4. So turn your work over and chain 4 without a knot in your yarn. Okay, first time I've used this yarn, so we'll see what happens. It's not working so good at the moment. Okay, so chain 4, and then we're going to chain 3. So that first chain 4 counts as your first treble crochet. You might want to pop your finger onto that 4th chain just so you know where it is, and then chain 3, and then you're going to do a 2 treble crochet cluster in the top of your chain 4. So that's why I popped my finger on that chain. So you're just going to do 2 treble crochets into this, 2 treble crochet, partial treble crochets into that 4th chain. Like so. Finishing with 3 loops on your hook, and yarn over and pull through those 3, and that's your first little cluster done there at the top of your chain 4, which usually we would do it at the top of our last stitch. Okay, we would usually make it here at the top of our last stitch, so that's basically what we've just done there. It's just that that last stitch happens to be a chain. Okay, so then we are going to skip 3 treble crochets, So 1, 2, 3, and then do a treble crochet cluster in the 4th stitch. So that's, you do 3 stitches and end up with 4 loops on your hook. And that 4th stitch along. There we go, 4 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 4. And then we're going to skip 5 stitches. So 1, 2 stitches, 3 is the cluster, 4, 5 stitches, and then you're going to go into the next stitch along, and you're going to make another 3 stitch cluster. Again, that's 4 loops on your hook at the end of the stitch, the end of the cluster even. So there we go, 4 loops, yarn over and pull through. And then we're going to chain 4. And just as we've done before, we're going to do 2 crochet cluster in that first chain. So that's not right. What have I just done there? Yarn over twice. What did I do? Okay. So you're going to have 3 loops on your hook at the end of this. As you're just doing those 2 partial stitches. Okay, yarn over, pull through, and then you are going to then you're going to skip the next 3 stitches and do a treble crochet in the top of that last treble crochet, which is in fact that chain 4. So treble crochet in the top of that chain 4, which sometimes that top chain does like to go small, doesn't it? So you have to kind of encourage your hook through and do a treble crochet. There we go. Okay, so we have just 2 more little rounds to go, rounds to go, not much at all. So now we're going to turn our work and we're going to chain 4. And then we're going to do that last cluster in the second cluster. So a 3 stitch cluster as always in the top of that second cluster. So 4 loops on your hook at the end of this stitch. There we go, 4 loops, pull through. And then we're going to do a treble crochet in the last treble crochet, which is the top of this chain 4 here. So just going to do a treble crochet in the top of that chain there, right next to that cluster. This is just going to help close in this round for us. And then we have one final little round left. So turn your work over, and then we're going to do a single crochet 2 together, just to finish this corner, because if you look at this corner, it's not quite straight. Okay, so over the top of this cluster here and the top of your chain 4 here, you're going to do a single crochet 2 together. So go into the top of your cluster and pull through a loop, go into the top of your chain if you can. My first chain was too tight, so I've just gone into the second. Okay, and then pull through a loop. And then you're just going to pull through all 3 loops to close that single crochet 2 together. And that just gives you your nice little point at the end of that corner. And then all you need to do is fasten off. Scissors, scissors, scissors. There we go. Okay, pull that through, pull that nice and tight, and there is our finished square. How gorgeous is that? And such a clever technique. I love it. I must admit, when I first saw the pattern, I thought, what? But thankfully, with our wonderful testers and charters, it's made it so much more simple. And I love it, love it, love it. So there you go. There is our Stonecrop square. Love it. So I can't wait to see how you've made this, what colours you've made it in, and whether you've done different colours for each set. We've got 4 sets of these Stonecrop flowers. So I can't wait to see what you've done. If you are not already part of our Facebook group, there is a link to it in that description below. We've got albums for all of our squares, so come on over, upload a photo of your square, show us what you've done. And the written pattern and chart is there as well. Yeah, I hope you found this useful and helpful, and you've enjoyed crocheting along with me. And if you have, then please share a bit of love and appreciation by hitting that like button and giving us a thumbs up. And I look forward to hooking with you next time. So until then, just keep hooking and don't let your tea get cold.